So I know it's been a while since I posted anything, so I wanted to kind of post exactly what I'm going through. And again, this Facebook group is not about medications, it's not about symptoms, it's more about emotions. A lot of times we actually can see other groups and we know asking questions about when were you diagnosed and how long before you were in a wheelchair. A lot of times to me that's just depressing that we focus on all the negatives. So I kind of want to let you know what I'm going through, and not that I'm making light of having a bad day or having a symptom or feeling horrible, because obviously anyone with MS knows that you have days like that. Ohio, which is where I'm located, is now winter, like everywhere else, except we are getting snow, we're getting ice, we're getting really cold weather, and with that comes spasticity, unfortunately. And so I am experiencing a lot of spasticity. What people who don't know what spasticity is, I have, my left side is affected, and so my left leg doesn't bend necessarily on its own, and so I kind of walk kind of straight-legged. So my grandkids call me Frank and Nina because they call me Nina's grandma, because I walk very stiff-legged. And what it feels like is a Charlie horse almost all the time. So people who experience Charlie horses temporarily know they're extremely uncomfortable. Sometimes it almost feels like your leg has gone to sleep, that uncomfortable pain that you get right when you start to feel your leg starting to waken up. And so my left side has also been affected. So I have noticed that my left arm is starting to contract a little bit when I walk. And so I try to keep it in my pocket, no biggie, and I try to stretch it out as often as possible. And with spasticity, like I said, one of the things that I can be doing is drinking more water, and I'm actually trying to. But that has some other implications as well that we've discussed, and a lot of you are already aware of them. But spasticity is kind of a big thing for me. I have it quite a bit, and so every time I stand up, it takes me a little bit longer. I have to really do some stretching. And I didn't really recognize spasticity in the beginning. I don't know why. When I first had MS and was completely and it had no adverse effects, I had no idea what spasticity was, and in my mind it was like tremors. And so when my neurologist would say, "Oh, so are you experiencing any spasticity?" and I'd be like, "No, I'm not," because I wasn't having tremors, but I was having this feeling like I needed to stretch all the time. And so if you're having that feeling that you just need to stretch out your legs or stretch out your arms and fingers or something like that, just know that that may be the beginning stages of spasticity, and definitely to encourage your neurologist to note that, and keep a very close eye on that yourself as well. Because again, there are some things that we can do to alleviate spasticity, but 80% of people with multiple sclerosis experience spasticity on a daily basis. And in my case, I now walk very stiff-legged. When I sit, I actually grab my leg and bend it and put it over the other one, because I'm still a lady. I still have to cross my legs. And like I said, with my arm, I pay very close attention to where I'm positioning it, because a lot of times people don't know what I'm going through, and because I look, again, so relatively normal, and I act relatively normal, as much as normal as I can, people don't often know what's going on with me, so the less I can kind of draw attention to myself, obviously, the better. But one of the things that I found is, obviously in the wintertime, I'm sitting a lot on the couch with a electric heated throw, and then a blanket over top of it, and I sit with my hood up. And so a lot of times it's just about being warm. I put a heater in my bathroom when I take a shower, just because I want to make sure that I stay warm. Getting cold is horrible for everybody, but with spasticity it actually is quite painful. Winters are quite painful, so I also take, and there are hunting packets that are heated that you just break and you can put in your gloves and in your shoes or in your pockets. I definitely recommend those for people who haven't thought about it. They're in the hunting section at any of your local stores, Walmart, Kmart, any of those. So get those, I break those, I put those either in my gloves or in my pockets or in my shoes, and that keeps me warm. But one of the things that I think that is most important about having any kind of pain, because obviously this is kind of a consistent pain, a dull aching, sometimes even much more aggressive than that, is all about mindset. And again, I don't want to belittle those people who do have chronic pain like I do, who can't seem to get past it because it just consumes your entire life. My way of looking at this is, It is extremely painful, but me complaining about it and not having a positive outlook on things makes it far worse. That the pain seems to be more unbearable or more overwhelming. And so when somebody asks me every day pretty much, so Stacy, how are you doing? I always say, I am stinking spectacular, because I actually feel that way. Whether I'm in pain or whether I'm having a bad day or I have chronic fatigue like everybody else, it doesn't change anything by me complaining about it. It doesn't make the other person want to ever ask me again how I'm feeling. And for those people who understand what I'm going to say, this is almost like the little boy who cried wolf. If I'm constantly complaining about pain or a symptom that I have, or something that's going on with me that is not related to anything, but I'm just miserable, people want to stop asking, because you're kind of becoming a miserable person to be around, and it's very negative. And so the days that you are actually horrible and that you can't get out of bed and you really need somebody to sympathize or someone to vent to or someone to get help from, if you complain all the time, it kind of loses its importance. It's kind of like using the F word all the time. Eventually it just becomes part of your vocabulary, and it's not really an accent word anymore. It's just kind of a word. And so somebody who complains all the time about things, or doesn't do for themselves, or never has a positive outlook, to me, those are the people that you don't want to ask necessarily, or you know they need your attention, you know they need someone to talk to, but it's just really hard because all they want to do is complain about their symptoms. And in my case, I have MS, I have spasticity, I have chronic pain, I have lack of mobility, I have to use a mobility assistance, I use a cane, and quite frankly, I'm honestly thinking that maybe it's time to start thinking, just for stability and security on the ice and on the snow, that I maybe start using a walker. And I understand this is a difficult thing to say, and I understand it's a difficult thing to hear, and believe me, it's completely difficult for me to say. But complaining about me needing a walker doesn't change the fact that I may need a walker. Or having pain and complaining about it doesn't change the fact that I have pain. I go through everything you go through, but my whole thing is I really want to stay positive, because I'm not in a wheelchair yet. I don't have optic neuritis, and for those of you who do, it's horrible, and I've had it before. I have not lost my sight. I'm still out of a wheelchair. I still really appreciate everybody. I still have a hard time asking for help, and I still try to do everything on my own. And I want to continue to keep doing that until I can't do it anymore. So I'm not belittling anyone who's in pain and who feels horrible, because I completely understand. I just want you to know that sometimes looking at the brighter side of things may be extremely difficult, but it may be an important thing to do. Dwelling on the negativity all the time just makes the negativity even bigger, and you need to stop feeding that. I always think about it as two dogs. One of them, you're feeding negativity, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the negativity gets to the point where you can't overlook it. And then the positivity, you're starving, and it's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and then it gets to the point where you can barely even see it. I want my positivity dog to be so big, to be much, much bigger than the negativity dog. And then I want to starve the negativity dog, because that's the one I don't want to see. So you just need to figure out, which dog do you want in your fight? And mine, I want the positive dog, because nobody can change what I'm going through, but the positivity dog, maybe, who knows, maybe someday my service dog. All right, have an absolutely spectacular day, and I really am stinking spectacular, even in the light of everything else, and I want you to be stinking spectacular, because this is a war that you deserve to fight, and you need to put in your best dog first. So have an absolutely great day, and happy holidays.